Hello, welcome back to another Level1Techs Q&A. Yay! We're answering your questions that you sent us on social media.
Really, this is just a thank you for giving us money. You don't have to give us money, but we really do appreciate it. Do you have any idea how much crap we can buy that we otherwise wouldn't buy?
So yeah, this is all your questions. I've kind of organized them into different categories. Also, I brought in some strawberries that are from my garden for Wendell to try. See if they're any good.
It'd be so great.
I'll
if
be
you just spit that
devastated.
in your face.
Only 40% more arsenic. It's great.
Probably less arsenic. 'Cause
a
there's
little touch of deer skull in there.
no deer skull's in the back. It's away from the
It
garden.
has a way of spreading around.
How would you rate them against a supermarket strawberry?
Those were picked like 20 minutes ago. So
Yeah, so these are a lot more flavor. They need a little bit more time to ripen up.
yeah, I only had a few that were like super red. The kids came
Oh, that
over
one's really good.
for 4th of July and like just descended on it like locusts. So there weren't many left.
There is a huge variability in strawberry taste in general. Like especially when we went to Vancouver, the strawberry farms around there, that's a whole other taste, whole different taste.
Anyway, Q&A.
These are good.
Start with fun and goofy questions. First one, we got this from multiple places. This was from Ice Leaps on Twitter, but I think it was also on YouTube. What's your favorite color?
You're gonna lie.
Why?
So tell me what your color is.
Yellow.
Every game that we play, as soon as there's a color tool or a color option in the building, everything turns pink.
Yeah, 'cause it's
It
funny.
never turns yellow.
Yellow's my favorite color though. I don't wear a lot of yellow because it makes me like not look good, but I like the color yellow.
Silver for me.
Yeah, the color of the paint in here is very nice.
Gray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Off-white.
if I had to, no, that's the ceiling. I mean the walls.
Oh, that's more of a blue tinge.
It's
It's
good.
a, it's a cool gray,
Yeah.
which they can't see, but
I like that color a lot.
and then the wall behind us is navy, which you also can't
I
see.
don't really care for the navy wall. We painted a wall dark like that in the studio too, and it's like we should have gone a lot lighter.
That's also a highly contextual question because it's like color of what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference. You should make that more specific.
Yeah, if it was like if video game colors, absolutely mine would be pink, but for like just everyday color, I really like yellow.
I also like green. Green's fun.
A lot of colors have qualities that I enjoy.
Yeah.
It's so hard to pick a favorite.
All right. Next one from the forum. How much does Ryan lurk in the forum on a scale from 0 to NSA? That was from QT Work. And then a similar question. As a friendly jab to the forum regulars, what trait and or personality disorder do you think is the most common from regular eel?
In 2023, I would say it's absolute zero.
You never go to the forum?
I don't think I've logged in.
I go to the forum pretty often.
And that bleeds into the second part of the question. I feel that I have a very low tolerance for what you're talking about there. I'm not going to name it, but I really don't mesh well with it. And they've got their little insular community. And when I've tried to, inevitably, I butt heads with them. And there's only two ways that's going to go. And I don't really want to deal with it. So I just don't.
I don't mind. I go to the forum pretty frequently. There's some good shit posting in there. Also, the what did you eat thread is really good if you're into that kind of thing.
But I can't just sit by and watch it. Like it makes me angry. So I'm just not going to deal with it.
My favorite kind of threads are the people that post like they got e-waste or something and they're just enjoying the crap out of something they fished out of the dumpster. It's like,
Yeah.
I fished this networking thing out of the dumpster and now my home network is running this really crazy thing. And it's like, that's good. Good for you.
Yeah. Project
But
threads.
then
are
you're going
nice.
to get 5 paragraphs about why you should not be happy with that. And
It's funny that
For project threads, not so much, I would say.
It's funny that you say that because I was looking at buying, you know how Intel is like shutting down everything and they're firing everybody. I got some of the Intel e-waste from where they shut down some stuff and I almost didn't because there was exactly that kind of 5 paragraphs posting on other forums. I was like, has anybody ever attempted to do this? And it was exactly that kind of posting. And I was like, I probably shouldn't do this, but I got it and I had a blast. It was amazing. Everything worked basically without any headache at all. Those people had no idea what they were talking about.
I don't want to be on the forum. Same reason I don't want to play multiplayer shooters. Because some people spend all of their life on it.
No lifing it.
And it becomes this little embedded system and they try to gatekeep it. And again, there's only 2 ways that's going to go. And it's just not worth it.
I'm fine with them spending their life doing it. It's the gatekeeping that's a problem. It's like, I spent my life doing this so you don't have to. Here's everything you need to know. That's great. But the other thing is not great.
But I want to tell them.
Yeah.
But it's just not worth it.
Anyway, next question. What have you guys been playing recently? That was from Infinity Squared on YouTube. I don't think a lot of people know. We have a Twitch channel. Just FYI, if you've never watched. We have Twitch TV /Team PGP.
It's very low key.
Yeah, it's just us hanging out playing video games.
But it's been ready or not for most of, all of July and most of June.
Yeah.
So that's
I really like
a
Ready or
good
Not.
time. Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if we're getting better at it or if it's because we're playing with people from chat, but it feels like we're like really busting through some of the maps now.
I really feel like they got something magical there. A few more maps and a few more mission modes and like connected all together with a story. I mean,
Yeah. I mean, it's good even as is.
It's well done. Also, Mombazoo, revisiting that. Fantastic game. If you like, just weird life sims that you can pour hours into.
Yeah. Onward to general questions. How do you prevent burnout? And further, how does the L1Techs show panel not end up like the Facebook admins breaking down after sifting through all the doom scrolliest stuff all week? That was from Sugar Power and Choplifter on the forum.
I don't know that we figured out how to prevent.
Yeah, I don't think there's an answer to that one.
I feel like I'm a pile of barely glowing coals at this point.
Yeah.
But in terms of the new stuff, my personality has been, I would rather know, even if it's terrible.
I think also that I'm pandering here a little bit maybe, but there is a community aspect of it. It's like we're watching this together. Like the fact that we exist and that you're willing to pay us might mean that there is possibly hope after the fall. That we could
Some of us go get together and rebuild society.
maybe it won't be as terrible.
And there's also, and this is not a good thing, but it is a human nature thing of, there's that thing about like old people, for example, they find out somebody's dead or has cancer or something. They can't wait to tell everybody else. Like the need to disseminate bad information. And Wendell has the need to disseminate any information.
There's so much.
The compulsion of it. But I think we all have a little bit of that.
Yeah.
And you get a little bit of this, like, let me just tell you how bad things really are. There is some sort of catharsis to that, I guess. I don't know.
It is really like that. I don't really call it enlightenment, but when you assimilate a new piece of information, which makes the jagged edges on other pieces of information fit together better, there's something satisfying about that feeling.
I think it's also very satisfying to like tell other people. Like I had family over this weekend and like it was all I could do to contain all my knowledge about trees. Where it was like, oh, I can't let that out. They can't know.
Yeah,
I do like to talk about trees.
I was talking to the insurance adjuster about all the work that I did in saving the trees and like where I got the tick bite, and she was just like,
oh, nice. Yeah.
I was talking to my parents, and they were talking about like all the extended family stuff, which I care nothing about. Like I don't want to hear any of that. And then I was telling them about like microplastics or something.
Yeah.
And I recognized, I was like, you care as little about this.
Yeah. But I can't stop talking. The words are just coming out.
Well, I mean, they insist on me talking to them. It's like, I don't know what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
We got no common ground here. But, the great thing about YouTube is that for the most part, only the people who actually do want to hear it are there.
yeah.
So you get kind of like that closed loop.
Yeah.
Niche content.
It could be worse, it could be better. And some of you hang out on the forum and, some of you actually have to do these kinds of things as well. So it's just like, we're all in this together. And also sometimes, and this is really crazy, it might be hubris, but it feels like sometimes when we're reporting on the news and like commenting on things, it's literally the only one that was sane. Like we'll read the Reuters article and we'll read the New York Times and we'll read the all of the other sources we could find for a story, and it's just like, are these people from the same planet?
Yeah. And that's one of the big things about it is like being able to look at all the different perspectives and try to come up with a nugget of truth. And I don't think we do that as a society at all.
It's too much work to think about things. Somebody else think about things and tell me what to think.
But doing that every week kind of forces you to.
Yeah. My question is a relatively simple one. Do you really get demonetized as often as you make it sound like on the show? This is from John B. on Patreon. I'd say the news is probably the worst.
We don't do news, Kristen.
The Links with Friends show
We've
that we had to rename because of that.
We've even had old videos that were like 2-3 years old that get the, like reevaluation I think one of them was actually strike. We got a strike, and then we were like, "What is this even have to do with anything?" And then we appealed it, and they were like, it's fine, but we're gonna." But there was no, so they lifted the strike, but that video, so we just deleted the old video. So
It's way worse than you can imagine.
Yeah. And even what's crazy is like, I know when I worked on like the Lord of the Rings marketing video, like we uploaded multiple versions of that video with like minor changes, and they would all get striked, or like one would get striked for the same thing. And it's like, I don't understand what changes between these.
I've watched various YouTube channels where people do like eating challenges where they eat an insane amount of food. They've started self-censoring the word vomit because that gets demonetized now.
Do advertisers? Oh yeah. Well, this video might not get.
Oh, it's probably on that.
Yeah. But yeah, it does happen a lot.
It's crazy.
should hang out on a forum or float plane where we can talk about things like vomit.
Oh boy. That's wonderful. Look what you guys are missing.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's disappointing. It's really disappointing. It almost makes the case is like maybe we should put the news on Level 1 News channel at some point. I don't know.
And then just let it be demonetized. Yeah. For all three, if for some reason you were no longer able to continue with your career, what profession would you pursue? Shot Kala via float plane.
Ooh, edgy.
Yeah.
I've already got this all planned out. I'm gonna start a church, and it's
Good start.
it's called the what did I call it? Oh, the Church of the Inner Monologue. Now we're not there yet, but we're gonna get to a point where Neuralink is gonna let me actually be able to tell who has an inner monologue and who doesn't, and that's how you get into the church. And the message is still like God is the voice, God is the monologue, and the other people don't have it. They'll never know God, so we must not mix with them. And I feel like that would be it's got like a Scientology aspect to it. It's got exclusion, which is very important to a religion.
You need a celebrity to endorse it.
Oh, I'm sure there's
And
got to
some
be
sort of
some
accessory they can wear, like the red Kabbalah bracelet.
Yeah, we do need like an armband or something.
Yeah.
My career would be novelizing Ryan's ideas.
I would go into like forestry or like landscape design, I think, if I had to change professions now.
But this church, I mean, yeah, it might be a thing someday because I really think that's got a strong chance of being a great church.
I always get to see you just disappearing somewhere into like Montana, never to be seen again.
How am I going to pay for that?
I don't know.
We could have a little Montana
Compound,
sale or
yeah.
something. Yeah, sure. Why not?
It'll be amazing. It's like if in 15 or 20 years, it's like, well, Ryan made up this church, but he really did turn around society. I mean,
He was a weird guy.
but look how much we've accomplished in such a short order. I just don't understand. Yeah, I don't know. I like technology too much, so it's like if I couldn't do it anymore, I don't know
Be
what I
a
would
plumber, right?
do. Read, I don't know.
That's not a job.
You can't get paid to read.
Can you
I don't think.
write manuals for things?
Yeah.
I remember
You could be a technical writer.
I like briefly thought about technical writing when I was in college, and they were like, "Hey, if you get the computer science degree, there's always a job here." And I looked into it, and I was like, "Yeah, that's kind of crappy jobs." But now I think AI is going to
Yeah.
completely
quite rocked
remove that as a possibility. So,
Speaking of technical stuff, is there any upcoming updates to the KVMs on the store? Mason Cash via YouTube. I'm working on manuals right now.
Yes.
So
There's so many.
what store is that?
store.level1techs.com.
If you've ever bought a KVM or a KVM adjacent accessory, thank you so much for that. That's really amazing. I never thought that this kind of stuff would take up so much of my day, but also it's enough, we have a lot of help doing this stuff, and it is a kind of a scary amount of people, helping with the engineering, and doing everything else. And really, I just bug hunt and make little adjustments. The biggest failure so far with all of that has been Thunderbolt. I've been working on a Thunderbolt KVM for probably like 2.5, 3 years, and it's just there's one that came out already, and it's based on an Intel chipset, and it's just garbage. I don't like it. I don't like the chipset. But we have a lot of other models. We have a dual monitor power delivery KVM coming, a restocking for all the current models, and working on DisplayPort 2.0, but that's at least a year out, probably more like 18 months, 20 months, something like that. But you don't really need DisplayPort 2.0 yet.
Let's hope that everything stays stable.
Yeah. Nuclear fallout notwithstanding. A lot of people are real hyped for 10 gig KVMs, but like the actual 10 gig USB chipsets, if you try to send, they'll link up at 10 gigabit, but if you try to send 10 gigabits of information down the wire at 10 gigabit, they either overheat or they burn themselves out. So like I can rig up a little demo where I just have some chips in a loop sending themselves 10 gigabits with a heatsink, with all the cooling parameters and everything else. And once they've moved to like a petabyte of information, they're done. Like the chips are just dead. And it's like, well, we can't sell that because there are people out there who've got a crazy USB hub plugged into a KVM with 47 devices. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, guys, you're asking a little much here. Sorry.
But yes, there are updates. Yeah. Next question, does only Wendell collaborate with other communities or YouTube channels? Is L1Techs the exclusive outlet for Ryan and Big K?
We got Team PGP. What are you talking about?
Yeah, we have Team PGP. That was from Leo.
We got randos that show up there sometimes.
On YouTube.
Sometimes incognito.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever done a cross thing.
I don't really participate that much in that world.
If you could collaborate with any channel, who would it be?
I don't know.
Like anyone, even outside of the tech YouTube.
Claire Saffitz.
Oh, yeah. I would love for you to meet her and to just not talk. You'd be so nervous. Like, oh.
The chocolate chip cookies kind of thing.
Yeah.
It would be so much fun to collaborate with Claire, but purposely screw up all the tasks that she gives me in the kitchen.
And then watch her panic a little. Yeah. These are more technical style questions.
What about your collaboration?
Oh, who would I collaborate with? Laura from Garden Answer.
What would you do?
I would have her just tell me how to organize my garden.
So basically you just want slave labor.
Well, I just want her to tell me how to live my life because her garden's beautiful.
That's definitely the qualifier you should use for life advice.
You have a beautiful garden. Please tell me how to do everything. How do you stay up to date with all the software changes? Sugar Power from the forums.
Mostly depend on forum users to complain about things.
It's, well, what do you mean by software changes?
Oh, they just said software.
Meta?
Yeah.
I mean, you're never going to keep up with everything because there's so much. You kind of just have to focus.
I feel like web development, there's always some new library or thing that people are like, this is the new thing. And then a week later, there's another.
And you can never stop. It's just perpetually dealing with that all of your life. But I will tell you this. If you're having the imposter syndrome in the conference room, because everybody's rattling off all these buzzwords and stuff, most of those people are faking it. And like, they just know the buzzwords or they're trying to impress you. Or, you know, like, I don't think anybody has a true grasp of the whole thing.
I've got 5 years of experience with this new thing I'm talking about in this meeting. And it's like, no, it's just the guy did the blog post on that like 2 months ago.
Yeah. So it's like social media. Most people aren't really living those lives.
Yeah.
But they pretend they will. So just don't worry about it. And ruthlessly pursue more knowledge until you want to cry.
You must learn all the things. You can, like, you can accomplish a lot, though. Like, if you just, it's like, this is the thing that I know that we need to build. I'm going to buckle down and build it. That is more useful than...
Just general knowledge is not as useful as, like, I've actually used this thing to build something useful.
I hate to say it, but in terms of programming, ChatGPT will really help you bridge that gap because you might have zero idea of how to do something and ChatGPT will give you 75% of it.
Have you noticed it's gotten dumber the last like 3-4 weeks?
I've heard that recently.
I had been using it a lot and now it's just like, it's really, I don't know if it's like, I don't know what's going on, but it's gotten dumber for me. Like a lot dumber.
I haven't noticed it.
But yeah, when they get that right and they return it to normal, it's just shockingly good because it's like, I have a vague idea of what I need to do here. And it's like, oh, you need to do this. And it's like, that's right.
And it can click into place. Some people probably learn that way and some don't.
Yeah.
But if you have that learning style, it's great because you're like, well, I know what I want. I just don't know the exact syntax to get there. And then ChatGPT can show you and be like, I see where you're getting at. Even if it's wrong, you'll be like, well, I understand what you were trying to do, ChatGPT. Good job.
Close enough. You pointed me in the right direction.
I see that the trust and safety team has ruined this answer. So,
Wendell, what is your favorite pocket scientific calculator or Palm Top? And do you think that Palm Tops will ever make a comeback? Carmine via the forum.
I brought this just for that. I messed it up
I
though.
wondered why you had that sitting here when we came in.
It boots. That's the beep for it booting. But
It's
I
booting.
messed up the screen, and I was like, I was trying to fix the screen, and it fell off my desk, and I accidentally ripped the screen ribbon cable. There's a guy in like Norway that has extra screen ribbon cables, so I paid $20 to have a replacement ribbon cable come. The screen still doesn't work.
So you ruined it just so you could do a display of it in this
No,
video.
it's not ruined. It's just that
Ruined.
the mechanical mechanism was literally compressible foam, and it's so old. This was made in 1991. This is so old that the compressible foam doesn't compress anymore. So the ribbon won't compress into the screen. So I'm going to have to find and cut something of the equivalent thickness, maybe a neoprene or something.
This is almost the same age as me.
It's a 186. It's x86 code. It runs on AA, 40 hours of power on time from 2 AA batteries and a 5 megabyte flash card. 5 megabytes.
More importantly, I don't know if you've noticed that other device that he is hopelessly addicted to.
Or is it
And
the watch or the phone? It's probably both, right?
it's the phone.
The watch keeps me alive. Also
And-
keeps me honest. It's like, I did my steps today. No, I didn't.
So the modern palm top is the smartphone. And no, we're never going back.
Okay. This keyboard, like feel the keyboard.
Oh, it's actually like, it's not clicky, but like it feels pleasant to use.
I would love to have that
On
kind
a
of a
phone?
keyboard on a phone. And
That's when phones peaked, was when you had the slide out keyboard.
the T-Mobile Sidekick was close, but it was a different layout.
No, I had one of these when I was in college.
Oh, yeah,
and I
yeah, that's
used
right.
it like 3 times.
Oh, I use mine every day. It got me through the physics part of my degree. Like, this was, super handy because I had Excel. It was Lotus 123 that I would bring into Excel for the experiments I was running, and Derive for math. And so, like, this was incredible. And there was like the physics professor was like, "There's no way you can do a Monte Carlo analysis on that." And I was like, "No, look, check it out." And he's like, "Holy crap, what is that?" And it's like, "Well, it's a computer." And he's like, "I don't know if I should let you use that on a test."
How sad that in order to bring that experience to the masses, Steve Jobs had to like destroy it, like, make it awful.
Yeah.
And now look where we are.
Yeah, I've really been tempted to try to get my hands on a bunch of these and like put a Raspberry Pi in it or something, but still use the same keyboard. Like literally just hollow out the case, and put my own innards and a new modern display that fits in the clamshell. Like there's some design flaws in this, but just the form factor is perfect.
We need to move beyond the screen. Like we need like projector style
Yeah.
or heads up display with your neural implant. So
William, I think, thank you, sent me an old glass hole kit, Google Glass.
Glass hole. I was like, what?
And I was experimenting with it to see if my vision is good enough that I could use it with something like this wirelessly. And I'm still kind of on the fence, but it's not bad.
Just get LASIK.
No,
Easy. How do you feel about the collapse of Reddit and the seeming growth of self-hosted decentralized instances, thinking like Mastodon, Matrix, etc.? Do you feel this is a viable alternative to enable a less centralizations for speech on the internet? What is a good place to start for this kind of thing? This was also from user string of numbers from the forum.
The place that I would start with is, there's a problem. It's good. You recognize that there's a problem. Understand that you're asking one corporation to save you from another corporation. And there's less of that Mastodon, Matrix, and Lemmy. And so that seems like that's in the direction of the right answer.
you know what else there's less of? Users. No one is going to do it. I mean, I'm not saying no one is going to do it, but in order for Twitter to be Twitter, you got to bring in the normies. And it's just never going to happen with those things because it's too complicated. And you're going to find out it's like, oh, I got to go to like different things and manage all that. No. I just want to argue with people on the internet.
Yeah.
What would bring that is if we had a 10x to a 100x reduction in the cost of carrying that traffic.
Which is artificial.
Well, think about Usenet. Like the argument that you have is also an argument against Usenet, but the cost of carrying and replicating all of the messages on all of Usenet hit a floor and then boom, we got the internet. That could happen with federated services, but things need to be an order of magnitude or two less expensive because the sheer number of people using the system potentially, if you do have a Twitter replacement, and the amount of space and compute that you need to replicate all that around the world is non-trivial.
The other thing about Usenet is you basically have to have a third party that filters.
Yeah.
Because raw Usenet is just like raw sewage. And there's some like jewelry down in there. There's some great stuff in there, but you got to sift through it, or you got to deal with other people who do. And then you put yourself right back in the situation of having.
That's how I feel about like the fan fiction community. It's just raw sewage with a couple gems in it.
Well, I'm thinking about that over time though, because there was a point where Usenet reached peak adoption, and even though it still required a lot of active filtering, it was nowhere near the amount of active filtering required today. And the user base today is a tiny, tiny fraction of what it was during its peak.
And that's what saves it.
Could that same thing save Lemmy? Or is like, how do we get to a point where Lemmy is just mirroring all of the text messages from all of the people all over the world? Like,
The issue,
maybe
though,
fix.
once you have all those people, too, is that corporations then see, oh, those are eyeballs that I want to put ads in front of.
And governments.
Yeah.
They're like, wait, this is speech that I can't control. We must stop it.
Yeah. And different instances have different ads and blah, blah, blah.
It's a mess. It's never going to, it needs
Never
to
gonna
be,
perfect.
if it's simple enough for most of the populace to use it, then it's going to have all the drawbacks.
Are we going to cover in the stuff that the judge asked in like Mississippi or Alabama or whatever? Because there was a lot of requests from the federal government to do things with tweets that were otherwise innocuous.
Are you talking about the Twitter file ruling this week?
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely got a story about that in the news.
Okay. Well, we'll save it for the news, but yeah, stuff like that is like, I mean, if you're going to make the request, that's one thing. And the argument about that is one thing, but don't do it in secret. Jesus.
But they want to. They've already appealed it.
Similar question, I guess, kind of in that vein. What is your general opinion on the fight for privacy online? I.e., is it worth fighting, or is the fight lost already? And what length do you go to in order to protect your privacy while online? This was Figman.
I think it's already lost.
Yeah, I do kind of feel like it's lost.
But you shouldn't just like
Completely give up.
into it. You have to recognize that I think the way to deal with it is, because it is lost, you enter into that situation knowing that it's lost and conduct yourself accordingly. Like, I don't use any social media except once in a while I'll post a picture of my cats on Twitter.
Right.
And just because I know that I don't even like being on Discord, because I know all that's being
Monitored as
now,
well.
too.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like fighting, what are you going to do?
There's a lot that's lumped under the privacy online as well that is not anything to do with privacy the way that you normally think of it. It's privacy to do with behavior modeling and privacy to do with logging what you do. It's like this, there's no reason that this throwaway Twitter cat picture should be archived from now until the end of time, or that, you know, some part of the federal government might say, oh, we need more information on this user because this seems weird.
Or we need real-time updates.
Yeah.
Because we don't have a warrant, but
we would like for their central bank digital currency transactions to stop working.
Now that's what you should fight. Forget about what's already lost, because the central bank digital currency takes all that and then makes it life or death. So that's where we should focus our. We should fall back from what we've lost and establish a new beachhead as central bank digital currencies by not using them.
A lot of these things are really just taking control of your phone. This is why it's also so important to, you know, the Apple walled garden is so insidious, is when something, well, I mean, it already crosses the line that you can't run your own programs on your own phone, already crosses the line.
Oh, but it's a good privacy thing that you can do, is not use phone apps.
Yeah. I don't download any apps.
Yeah.
Don't touch them. And clean as many off as it'll let you.
And the mind-blowing thing about that is you could have perfect app privacy the way that websites are sandboxed, which they're not as sandboxed as they should be. But Android could provide a higher level of assurance in terms of sandboxing applications and virtualizations. Like the computer science for that has already been done. But they won't do it. There's no money in it.
You talking about like Twitter and stuff earlier. I've been thinking, I'm like, I should just really make my own like little blog to post pictures of my garden and stuff. Because then I have control over it. And then I'm like, oh, that takes effort.
You can just take the pictures and send it to the editors. They'll do it for you.
Yeah.
People like it.
Yeah. Anyway, in your lifetime, what technology do you think would have gone big or mainstream that did not catch on or died out early? On the flip side, what technology were you surprised about that got big in mainstream usage? That's from Tastes Like Tofu on Patreon.
I didn't see the smartphone thing coming,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone did.
and because of this thing right here,
Yeah.
like those existed, we had them, and nobody had a clue what that was, and it wasn't cool at all.
I remember being derisively mocked for buying like the OG T-Mobile, like the gray one that was just like, they're like, that's a phone. I was like, this is the phone. And they're like,
Everyone's going to have one of these.
they're just like, what is wrong with you? You're weird.
In terms of something that didn't take off,
That you thought should have.
I bought a, what was the name of that music storage disc that was
Mini disc?
yeah, mini disc players. I was like, oh man, mini disc players. Because it was optical, but you still had to actually wait for it to spin like a cassette. I thought those would be big, but they weren't.
I still think the Apple Pencil is great, but I think Apple's pricing makes them less attainable for people who are hobbyists, I guess, and not professionals.
I really thought convertible laptops would have been bigger. I was like, oh, it's a tablet, it's a laptop. It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem like there's a place for them, but it seems like they've only really just diluted other things. People still want a dedicated laptop.
I think they're sort of niche. I think most people use tablets more for like just browsing casually versus laptop, which is like your workhorse machine.
My Surface, I never use anything with a soft keyboard.
There's a bunch of technologies that Intel has demoed over the years that I'm surprised didn't catch on. Like there was one where they had wireless 4K. It was like the 16 gigahertz thing. It's like, oh, you just have to have your laptop in the room with line of sight to the TV, and you don't have to plug anything in for the display. It's like, oh, that's amazing. We don't have that. We don't. It's just, why don't we have that? I need that. I want that. I don't want to pay a lot of money for it. Maybe that's why we don't have it.
Yeah. Are there any specialized tools you use for running the various cables and wires throughout your homes for all the smart home, Wi-Fi, etc. tech that we may not have thought of?
Yeah,
BVD.
you got to get the stiff fish rods. You can get fish rods that are stiff in 2 dimensions, which is just a rod that's a little flexible, but like you can wiggle it and like pull it around like that, and it'll hop over obstacles. And then you can get another fish rod that's only flexible in one direction. It's really floppy in one direction, but it's really stiff side to side. That usually comes in a coil. And then you can get a really powerful magnet on a roller and like fish something or pull something down a wall. And you can get really long drill bits. And the really long drill bits, like if you got a house and you got an attic and a basement, you can use the really long drill bits to drill from the attic through the wall. You just got to measure really carefully. You can drill inside the wall by carefully measuring off of outside walls in the basement. Same deal with the attic. If you can go down inside a wall in the attic and then push your wire through and then use your magnet roller to find a magnet, and it's fine. There's a lot of good YouTube videos on that kind of thing.
I think that was our last question.
And that was all. Well, what about we got some on, okay.
We grabbed some from YouTube. We didn't grab all of them. We grabbed quite a few, though.
There are some really amazing new tools that'll let you see inside the wall with like a phone. You can put your phone up to the wall and be like, oh, there's a water line here, or PVC drain line, or electric. Because that's the real danger, is you hit an electric line, you hit a plumbing line, you hit a water line. And so you learn to look for stuff in the attic or in the basement. And with this stuff, the wall cavity stuff, to make sure there's nothing in the wall. Because if you hit a water line or a drain line, it's bad.
No, cable can have a little bit of water. Just a little.
If you hit a drain line, you don't know necessarily until you
flush a toilet or run a sink.
Yeah, I mean, I've totally seen somebody like an alarm installer fish an alarm wire through a 3-inch PVC, and that works fine for about 6 months, and then just poop accumulates on the alarm wire in the pipe, and then it leaks, and then it's just like, what's going on? Because it's a small drip because there's a wire in the hole.
We've been demonetized because you used vomit and poop in one video.
Well, fortunately, we've got viewers like you to support us.
We appreciate it. If
Thank
you
you.
guys have any other questions, wait till the next Q&A, which will probably be in like 6 months. Bye.
Thank you.